Ever wondered how to make the perfect Easter bread at home? Welcome to the aromatic world of Easter bread, a delightful tradition that has been handed down through generations. Easter bread symbolizes the end of the Lenten fast and the joyous celebration of Easter. Welcome to Factory Crafted. Often adorned with colorful eggs and shaped into intricate designs, this bread is much more than just a treat. It's an edible work of art. Making Easter bread is a fun and rewarding experience. It's a chance to get your hands floury, to knead, shape, and bake, to fill your kitchen with the warm, yeasty scent of bread in the oven. You'll need some basic ingredients: flour, yeast, sugar, eggs, and butter. Of course, you can also add your own special touches like raisins, citrus zest, or even a splash of anise for a hint of licorice flavor. With the right steps, anyone can make a delicious Easter bread at home. Ready to dive in? First things first, gather all the ingredients you need. To create our festive Easter bread, we're going to need a handful of essentials. Let's start with the basics: all-purpose flour, sugar, and salt. These will form the backbone of our bread, providing structure and flavor. Then, we're going to need some yeast. This little ingredient is a powerhouse, helping our bread rise to the occasion. To activate the yeast, we'll need warm milk. It's like a cozy blanket that wakes up our yeast and gets it ready to work. Next, we'll need eggs. They're the glue that holds everything together, and they also give our bread a beautiful, golden color. And of course, we can't forget the butter, which adds richness and a lovely, soft texture to our bread. Finally, for an extra touch of Easter magic, we're going to need some zest from a lemon and an orange. This will give our bread a delightful, spring-like freshness. Once you've got all your ingredients ready, it's time to get baking. Now, the real fun begins with preparing the dough. Imagine yourself as a master baker, ready to create an Easter masterpiece. Let's dive into the process, shall we? First things first, grab a large mixing bowl. This will be your canvas. Pour in the warm milk, gently, like a summer rain. Now sprinkle in the sugar, yeast, and a pinch of salt. This is the foundation of your dough, the cornerstone of your Easter bread. Let the mixture sit for about 5 minutes. This is the yeast's time to shine, converting that sugar into carbon dioxide, creating the bubbles that will give our bread its fluffy texture. While the yeast is working its magic, let's take a moment to sift the flour. The sifting process helps aerate the flour, making it lighter and easier to mix. So, take your time, enjoy the process, and remember, baking is not a race, but a journey. With your flour sifted and your yeast activated, it's time to combine the two. Gradually add the flour to the yeast mixture, stirring consistently to prevent lumps. You're looking for a dough that's slightly sticky but doesn't cling to your fingers. Now, we're going to get a little hands-on. Dust a clean surface with a bit of flour and turn out your dough. Kneading is an art form in itself, a rhythmic push, fold, and turn. You'll want to continue this for about 10 minutes. The goal here is to develop the gluten in the flour, which will give our bread its structure. As you knead, you'll feel the dough transform under your hands. It will become smooth, elastic, and less sticky. This is the sign that you've kneaded enough. It's a beautiful moment, one that connects you to generations of bakers before you. Once your dough is smooth and elastic, it's time for it to rest and rise. This is the calm before the storm, the quiet before the creation. So let your dough rest, knowing that you're one step closer to that delicious Easter bread. Patience is key in baking, especially when it comes to letting your dough rise. This step is crucial in achieving that airy, light texture we all love in our Easter bread. When we let our dough rise, we're giving the yeast a chance to work its magic. The yeast ferments the sugars in the dough, creating carbon dioxide gas. This gas gets trapped within the dough, causing it to expand and rise. Now, how do you know when your dough has risen enough? It's all about the size. A fully risen dough will have doubled in size from when you first set it aside. And here's a neat little trick. Gently press your fingertip into the dough. If it springs back immediately, it needs more time. But if the indentation slowly fills back in, then you've hit the sweet spot. Remember, bread baking is not a race, it's an art. When the dough has doubled in size, you know it's ready for the next step. Now that our dough is ready, it's time to shape our Easter bread. The art of shaping bread, especially when it comes to traditional Easter bread, is not just about aesthetics. It's also about symbolism, tradition, and a pinch of creativity thrown into the mix. Let's start with a basic shape, the round loaf. This is a common shape for Easter bread in many cultures, symbolizing the cycle of life and resurrection, themes that resonate deeply with the spirit of Easter. To shape your dough into a round loaf, simply use your palms to roll the dough into a ball. Then, gently flatten it with the heel of your hand until it's about 2 inches thick. But Easter bread can also take on more intricate forms. One of the most popular shapes is the braided loaf. This symbolizes the unity and interweaving of family ties, a sentiment that's especially poignant during holiday gatherings. To create a braided loaf, divide your dough into 3 equal parts. Roll each piece into a long, thin rope and then braid them together, tucking the ends underneath for a neat finish. And for those with a flair for the dramatic, you might want to try shaping your dough into a wreath or a nest, both of which are emblematic of rebirth and new beginnings. These shapes might require a bit more dexterity and patience, but the end result is certainly worth the effort. Remember, shaping bread is not a race. It's a leisurely activity, meant to be savored. Allow yourself to enjoy the tactile pleasure of the dough beneath your fingers, the rhythm of kneading and shaping, and the anticipation of the delicious creation that's slowly coming to life. Don't be too hard on yourself if your first few attempts don't turn out perfect. The beauty of homemade bread lies in its uniqueness, its slight imperfections that make it distinctively yours. Once you're happy with your shape, it's time to let it rise one last time before baking. So take a moment to admire your handiwork, and then let's move on to the next step in our Easter bread adventure. With our bread shaped and risen, it's finally time to bake. Now, the magic happens. Baking is where all your hard work pays off, transforming your dough into a delicious golden brown Easter bread. Every oven is a world of its own, with its unique quirks and characteristics. Therefore, it's vital to know your oven well. But don't worry, I'll guide you through the process to ensure your bread comes out perfect every time. First things first, preheat your oven. This is a crucial step, as it ensures a consistent temperature throughout the baking process. For our Easter bread, we're aiming for a moderate heat, about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or 175 degrees Celsius. This temperature is ideal for baking bread, as it allows the bread to cook evenly without burning the outer crust. While your oven is heating up, let's talk about baking time. Of course, this can vary depending on the size of your bread and your oven's specifications, but as a general rule of thumb, our Easter bread should bake for approximately 25 to 30 minutes. Here's a little baker's secret. The best way to tell if your bread is done is not by the clock but by the sound. That's right, your bread will talk to you. When you tap the bottom of your loaf, it should sound hollow. This is the sign of a perfectly baked bread. Also, remember to rotate your bread halfway through the baking process. This step ensures even browning and prevents one side from getting darker than the other. Once your bread is a beautiful golden brown, remove it from the oven and let it cool on a wire rack. This cooling period allows the bread to finish its baking process from residual heat and makes it easier to slice. And there you have it, a perfect golden brown Easter bread, hot from the oven. Don't forget, the most important ingredient is love, so sprinkle a generous amount into every step of your baking process. Enjoy this delicious bread with your family and let the Easter celebrations begin. Well, wasn't that a fun and rewarding journey? We've traveled the road of baking Easter bread together, from gathering the ingredients to witnessing the magical rise of the dough. We've shaped our loaves with love and care, and then the real magic happened in the oven, filling our senses with an aroma that's simply irresistible. Let's recap, shall we? We started with the basics: flour, sugar, eggs, and yeast. We mixed and kneaded, let it rise, and shaped it into our beautiful Easter bread. The oven did its part, and voila, a delightful treat to share with family and friends. But remember, this is more than a recipe. It's a tradition, a celebration of Easter, a labor of love. So, why not give it a try? Roll up your sleeves, dive into the dough, and create your own Easter masterpiece. Remember, baking is all about enjoying the process and sharing the joy. Happy Easter and happy baking. Thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe. Be blessed.